Hi everyone, welcome, hope you're all well. Cabochons. I think we take cabochons a little bit for granted, and if you are not used to making them and you don't make jewellery, you probably discard them. You don't think too much of them because they're not part of what you do as a glass artist, and they belong more to that jewellery side of things. But if you think about them, cabochons can be used in many different ways. Think of them like a part sheet. You can use them in your projects in a number of different ways. One of them is to just simply tack fuse them onto the surface of your piece. They can be just a decorative item. You may have seen millefiori cabochons used by fusing them all together in what is effectively a part sheet, and that being incorporated into projects. Now, I've got a video, I'll try and remember put a link in the description, where I've made millefiori, very simple ones, that were fused into a piece, not into a pattern bar, but into the piece directly, so that they just fused in and created like a channel through the piece, not a channel, like a pathway through the piece. So don't underestimate cabochons. You can use them in many different ways. Now, the ones we're going to make today are a little like puddle cabochons, but unlike puddle cabochons, which are a little random, you don't have a lot of control over the pattern in any way, really much at all, other than the colours. These ones you got a little bit of control over. You're still in the lap of the gods, so to speak, as to what the final piece will look like. But because we're going to be layering up glass in a particular way, and then when we fuse them into the puddles, we're not going to just take the chunks that we end up with when we break them up. We're actually going to cut it up into very specific sizes, and then we're going to fuse those to get more uniform sizes and shapes. Now, let me know in the comments if you've used cabochons in projects before. I'd really like to know, and how it all worked out for you. And if you can, send me a photo. Just go to my website, use the Contact Us page, and you should be able to attach an image to that. If you do that, in the next cabochon video, I'll show a few of those photos, just to show other people what can be achieved with cabochons in glass art projects. Now, if you get to the end of this video and you do like it and it's been of some use to you, please hit that like button. Don't forget to ask your questions in the comments section below, and any comments would be appreciated, and we'll get right on to making these cabs now. So you're probably wondering why I'm using turquoise and vanilla again. I just like the combination, but in this particular case I wanted to try and have a cab that was lighter in colour, a bit softer in colour. The Egyptian blue, which I like as well, has a nice strong reaction, but yeah, the turquoise is just a little bit softer, so that's why turquoise this time. So what we're going to do is, don't know what that was, I have a sheet of turquoise here. I'm going to cut just a small piece about that big. I'm going to put turquoise down first, then I'm going to put the vanilla, then on top of that I'm going to put some frit and some little pieces of turquoise, and then on top of that I'm going to put another piece of vanilla. And then I'm going to fuse them all together, dam it all up so it doesn't spread out. Then I'm going to cut it. I'm not going to hit it with a hammer, I'm going to cut it into little rectangular shapes, and then I'm going to fuse them edge on in the kiln, and hopefully we're going to get a really nice pattern. So that's the plan. So as far as equipment is concerned, I'll be just using pieces of kiln shelf to dam it all up with, and I'll be using my ring saw to cut everything up. You could try and score it, but I doubt that's going to work. You're probably better off just scoring it and then hitting it with a hammer, and hopefully you'll get good sized pieces. The glass, as you can see, is 0137, the French vanilla, and 0116, which is the turquoise. stay safe, wear your mask and your eye protection when necessary. This is all Bullseye 90 COE, and the firing schedule I'll give you will need to be adjusted if you're using any other COE. So I'll go away now, I'll cut the glass up and then I'll come back and I'll show you as I assemble it. So I've cut up all the glass and cleaned it all. So what I've got here now is the shelf with a piece of thin fire paper underneath, my sheet of turquoise, 3mm turquoise there, and then the dam set up with strips of thin fire around the sides to make sure nothing sticks to those dams. So what I'm going to do now is place a piece of the vanilla on top of that turquoise. Make sure everything's right. Then I'm going to scatter some turquoise and vanilla frit over the top of that. I'm just going to take out some of the bigger pieces. Prefer to have some smaller pieces in there. A couple of big pieces isn't a problem. I'll just put some vanilla frit. Now I'll just work that in because I don't want it to be too thick. Hopefully we can get it to work in. Now I'll just place that last piece of vanilla over the top. Got it the right way? Yep. Oh, that's a nice neat fit. We should be right though. Okay, now some of you are maybe thinking that because I've got frit underneath this top piece, I'm going to get bubbles. There's actually a good chance I will get bubbles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a fairly long bubble squeeze segment in the firing schedule, and hopefully we'll minimize those bubbles. Now I'm not terribly worried about some of them because once we cut this all up, turn them on edge and fuse them, hopefully those bubbles won't be a problem and they'll all just work themselves out. So I'll get this in the kiln now, we'll take it up to a full fuse and we'll see how it goes. I just thought I'd show you what I do when I'm cleaning up after the thin fire has fired. Basically all I do is I spray. I know it's wetting the shelf and everything, but I give it a good spray, let the water soak down around it, and this works out fine for me because I have a couple of different shelves that I can use and I can rotate through. Gives this shelf time to dry, and I don't use the dams often, so again they get plenty of time to dry. Then I'll just take these off, give them a little spray as I take them off, make sure that everything stays damp. You'll find the water will soak through. I still wear a mask, by the way. I haven't got it on now so I can talk, but I do still wear a mask while I'm doing this. You'll find that the water will seep in underneath that, and just very gently, again, pick it up, spray it, and you will get a little bit of dust, of course. That's why I still wear a mask. Then when I'm finished, I'll scrape all of the thin fire off into a bucket and of water, basically, settle it out, and then later on take the clear water off the top. So there we have it, it's all fused up. That gives you an idea of the pattern we're going to have. I'll get a bit closer if I can. So you can see how we've got the reaction between the first two sheets and then between all the frit that we put in the middle. Can't see any evidence of bubbles there, so if we're lucky, we'll have no bubbles at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece off here and cut that into small chunks, and they'll sit on edge on the shelf. I'm also going to cut a slice off here a little bit wider than 6 mils and do the same. So I should get 2 different size cabs out of it. And the rest I will keep for another day, because it could be used in another piece as a pattern bar. So I'll go and do the cutting now. So these are the couple of strips I've cut off. You can see the pattern in there, in both of those. Now we do have a little hole there, which we're doing pretty good actually, having just one. I thought we might have had more. I don't expect that to be a problem. That shiny bit is the sticky tape I put on to hold my marks in place, but I don't expect that'll give us a problem. So now I've just got to go and cut these into our smaller pieces, and then we'll get them in the kiln. Okay, everything's cut up. I have faced everything on the shelf according to the way I think the pattern is going to look the best. I think that's a little bit more interesting. Now you notice there is a hole in that also, so that hopefully that'll give the air plenty of time to escape. Most of them are on the cut side up. This one is actually on the outside. Put that in the right place. I said, whoop. Most of them are the cut side up. This one's a bit boring, so I'm putting that one that way around. So let's get them in the kiln and we'll see how they come out tomorrow. So there we are, they're all fused up. Fusing's gone well. I'll just show you these a little bit closer. They're all very similar because of they all come out of the same slab. Nice patterns on the sides. They do have a scummy back, of course. So these will normally, I'll put them in the tumbler for a while, and then I'll fire polish them just on the shelf with some boron nitride. That way we'll get a nice back to them. These smaller ones, same sort of thing. They're all a similar pattern. Quite a bit smaller. They can be used as earrings. You could turn them around so they're opposite. They're not lightweight, I suppose, but a lot of people like the larger earrings. Remember, you could do these in any colour combination you like. vary up the layup of the layers, and the fret doesn't have to be reactive. So I hope you can see just a little bit of, how could I say, creativity, and you can get some really interesting patterns in your cabs. They look a bit like puddle cabs, just with a little bit more control. By the way, something I just need to mention here too is, if you look at these side on, you can see they've got a very high curve on them, because just that's the way the glass works when it comes out of the kiln. If you wanted something flatter, or you wanted these to be a lot more accurate in shape and size, you can hand cut them. I've got videos here showing you hand cutting them. These are ones that have been hand cut. Basically, I cut them on wheels. These are dichro ones, of course. But if you look at the side of these, you can see it's got to be much more gentle curve. So when you set these into a bezel, you don't need such a high side to the bezel to push over to hold the cab in place. Whereas these here, you need a much higher side to the bezel. And this has been calibrated, which means it's been made to a very specific size. I'll put a link in the description on cutting these in case you haven't seen one of the videos. Something else I should have mentioned is that these are not hand polished. They're only cut by hand. To polish them, they're put back in the kiln on a fire polish. So, how do you think we went? Were they what you expected? If not, let me know in the comments, and if they were, let me know in the comments as well. They turned out pretty much as I would have expected, and I can see them making, besides nice jewellery, being used in projects somewhere along the way. Obviously, you don't have to use these colours. You don't even have to use reactive colours. I think I said that before. Use whatever you want, opal, transparent. It doesn't matter, depends upon the effect you want to make. But give them a go. I think you'll find that they're very useful in your projects. Very useful just as decorative pieces, or on a larger scale, more like a part sheet. Anyway, I hope you enjoy that. Don't forget, put this down. A couple of videos up there. If you want to watch a couple more, subscribe button right there. Don't forget your notifications. And until the next video, I'll say bye for now.